Howdy, go to go, and welcome to another edition of African Experts, the show that brings you African entrepreneurs, practitioners, innovators, and researchers with big ideas and insights on issues shaping African lives. If you're just joining us for the first time, Kushe. We're here on Sundays to ask big questions and to learn from African experts and viewers like you. If you're not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so you never miss an episode. Okay, before we dive into this week's conversation, here are a couple things to remember. This is a live discussion. Should we lose internet connectivity or electricity, please do not leave, as we will be right back. I invite you to engage with each other in the comments and to ask questions. And also, if you're watching right now, do share this conversation with a friend who needs to be in the know. In just 12 years, Bitcoin, the world's first cryptocurrency, has gone from fringe and fantastical to a multi-billion-dollar industry. Today, like right now, I checked this morning, one Bitcoin is worth over $59,000. 59. Early investors in Bitcoin have gone from speculators to overnight millionaires, in some cases, billionaires. For today's conversation, we're looking at what's fueling the rise of cryptocurrencies across the world, but especially on the continent. We're looking at African cryptocurrencies and the barriers limiting blockchain power transactions across the continent. Right now, Nigerians beat out all other nationalities globally as the highest users of cryptocurrencies. In a global consumer survey of over 70 countries, 32% of Nigerians said they had used cryptocurrencies for payment or transfer. Cryptocurrency-enabled mobile digital wallets are reducing financial barriers to payments and money transfers in Nigeria and Kenya. But central bank regulators are pushing back as they feel threatened by the decentralized free movement of virtual currency outside of the traditional banking system. The rise of cryptocurrencies in Africa is a direct response to the traditional banking and money transfer issues that come when African consumers are trying to move money around. But come what may, they will continue to innovate, invest, and trade in crypto. Today, I'm talking to a software developer and ICT policy advisor and a cryptocurrency advocate, I hope I can call him that, for insights on the state of affairs and where crypto in Africa is headed today. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this word from our sponsor, Adama Loves Akara, which is currently available in Ghana and Sierra Leone and online at Amazon.com. You're watching African Experts with Vickie Remoe. You're watching African Experts with Vickie Remoe. Welcome back. Let's meet our guest, African expert Daniel Cheto. Daniel is the Director of Software Solutions at TY Memory Masters in Sierra Leone, where he has served in various positions developing products for clients both in the public and private sectors. For over 2 decades, he has also served as a lecturer at the Institute of Public Administration and Management in Sierra Leone. He's currently the head of the Department of Information Technology. Daniel is both a practitioner and an ICT policymaker, guiding international, national, and corporate clients. As a consultant, he has planned, deployed, and implemented numerous projects for Sierra Leone's key institutions. He developed and implemented a voter registration application for the National Electoral Commission. He created an identity management reference and training manuals for the National Civil Registration Authority. He also completed the coding and implementation of the Domestic Tax Information System and Debt Management Information System software at the National Revenue Authority. He also developed an automated driver's licensing system for Sierra Leone's Road Transport Authority. He planned, deployed, and developed an asset tracking database for the Anti-Corruption Commission. His other clients include DFID, UNDP, UNICEF, UNESCO, and many others. In addition, Daniel has published 2 papers. The first, Getting Busy with IT, a role for IPAM in developing Sierra Leone's information society, in the African Technology Policy Studies Sierra Leone Chapter Conference proceedings, published in November 2001. His most recent publication is Blockchain Technology Potential Applications for Development, presented at the Sierra Leone Institution of Engineers conference proceedings in June 2018. He's a Microsoft certified technology specialist, SQL Server Business Intelligence, with certificates in data science, machine learning, and digital currency. He has a Bachelor's of Engineering with honors from the University of Sierra Leone class of 1990, and the Master's in Software Engineering with distinction from the University of Liverpool class of 1992. He's a member of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers and the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers Computer Society and the Association for Computing Machinery, ACM. Daniel, welcome to the show. I know people are like, he's done so much, but like, that is like a compressed, like I couldn't even, when I was writing the profile, I was like, this young, it's too boku. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being on the show. I can't actually hear you. Daniel, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I think I was muted. I said we write. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Good. I said we write our CVs to big ourselves up. You didn't need to read the whole thing.
No, I didn't read the whole thing. Trust me, that wasn't the whole thing. If you think that's your entire CV, you're well mistaken. No, that was not your entire CV. That was me like, okay, Leah, just take the most important parts. Now, for those of you who don't know, I've known Danielle since the year, I think, 2005, when I was a summer intern at TY Capital Partners, which is a sister company to TY Memory Masters, which was co-founded by my late uncle, Alex Magona, who actually single-handedly inspired me to move back to Sierra Leone. Danielle, thank you so much for, first of all, encouraging me all those years to come sit in your office while you're working to develop your solutions, and you'd give me like small internet back in the day when Sierra Leone, like internet was like diamond, like you just couldn't find it.
It was so
you just
slow.
couldn't find it. So those were some of these people, they're too young. They will not know what we have been through for internet in Sierra Leone.
Indeed.
Okay, so my first question to you today is, how did cryptocurrencies go from fringe, when I mean fringe, like something that all of us think of as like a part of like the dark web, to the stock market and Bitcoin, a global fintech phenomenon? Today, one Bitcoin is valued at $59,000. Like, how did we get here? What happened?
Well, Bitcoin was developed, it wasn't developed in a vacuum. It was developed as a response to the global financial crash of 2007, 2008. In fact, in the first block that was mined of Bitcoin, the creator put the headline of a British newspaper, Chancellor on brink of second bailout. So it grew from something that was restricted to a small group of cryptography enthusiasts to become something that has become an international payment network, a protocol, and a decentralized system of communicating value. To be able to understand cryptocurrencies and how and why they are important, you also have to understand how the traditional money system works, which is something we're not really taught. The traditional architecture of money is centralized, and it's based on debt. For example, if you want to transfer money somewhere, you have to have it in a bank. The bank controls who you can send it to. You need to have identity. If you have a cousin that's living in Iran and you want to send it there, you wouldn't be able to send it there. And when you actually deposit your money in a bank, what you're doing is loaning the money to the bank. You're actually relinquishing some control. So cryptocurrency, Bitcoin changed that. It's completely decentralized. That means there's no central authority that is responsible or that can control it. And there's no need to trust a third party. So I can send you money directly without having to show identity, without even knowing who you are, without knowing where you are geographically located. And the network doesn't need to know, it doesn't care what the amount is, who you're sending it to, who they are, where they're located. So it's created a payment network that allows decentralized trust. In other words, we don't need to trust any third party. The trust is now placed in the network.
Okay.
So one of the main reasons why it has caught on and why it's become such a big phenomenon is the fact that it replaces the need for centralized control, and it gives the freedom to innovate because it is open, it is permissionless, and it is borderless. Open means that anybody can participate. The source code for the system is completely open source. Anybody can contribute to it. It's permissionless, meaning that you don't need permission to innovate on the system. As I said before, it is a protocol, so you can build on top of it. You can innovate, and it is, it's also decentralized. So, for example, if you wanted to send money to somebody in a different country in Inner Mongolia or Bahrain, you could send them without having to go to a bank, without having to trust any centralized third party. So that freedom to transfer value, to communicate value, and to innovate, to build new financial products on top of a decentralized protocol is what has made the value. People recognize the value in the system, and has made it become so popular.
Right. So, but what you're saying is the initial kind of driver was the global financial crash, right? So basically, Wall Street people were like, we can't trust these people. They have too much power, and instead of trusting people and institutions, people prefer to trust a network of people. Like, I rather have so many people across the world on the blockchain checking and verifying my transactions than leaving it to Bernie Madoff or some Bernie Madoff character on Wall Street, handling my money or needing to, provide ID, stand in line, write a letter, approve, etc. Like, go through all these processes to move my own money. So it's not like people are taking, it's like, this is my money. If I want to, move it anywhere, I shouldn't have to go through some kind of process and pay some exorbitant fee also, because sometimes that's the other case, right? I should just have the freedom. So
yes, it should not take 3 to 5 business days.
Right. That there's also that. Okay. So in your paper on blockchain,
you shouldn't. There's no need to go to the bank.
I shouldn't have to leave where I am to go send my money. Okay. So in your paper, blockchain technology, potential applications for development. One of the use cases that you presented for cryptocurrencies was just the remittances, right? Allowing people to send money either from the diaspora back home, or even maybe within a country, transferring money from one place in the center to somewhere remote. How does cryptocurrency make it cheaper to send? Because I know that globally, the average cost of sending money is between 7 and 10%. So if you go to a bank, you go to a Western Union or post office, you're going to pay between 7% to 10% of the total amount of the money that you want to send in order for that organization or that institution to send your money where it needs to go. Now, the UN says that they need that to get down to 3% because, for migrant workers, especially who are working across the world and sending money, these fees actually eat out of what they would be sending, right? So why does crypto beat banks or traditional money transfer services in cost and also reach? Because I remember one of the other things you mentioned was just that you can't last mile money transfer solution. You don't need to have a Western Union or a post office near you. Why is it potentially cheaper, for us to send remittances using cryptocurrencies?
Well, it's mainly down to centralization of the traditional money system. When you try to send money, or even if you use a service like Western Union, it's the bureaucracy involved, the paperwork that has to be filed and all that sort of stuff. Let's say you send the money using SWIFT. Money is already digital, so it shouldn't take 3 to 5 business days. But there's several hops in between. You have something that is called a correspondent bank, for example. I've never known what that is or why it's needed. Crypto is a worldwide decentralized network, and the only reason why there are fees are because of the game theoretical consensus that needs to be on the network for the network to maintain its decentralization.
Okay, for those people who don't understand how blockchain works, could you please explain to them what the consensus is, in terms of transactions, the checking and the verifying, and how that, just a quick, not so the technologist version explanation of the, I beg you, no, can't confuse it. Don't tell us about the ledger and all of this and the chain connecting to the other chain and all the chains.
No, okay. All right. Okay, we might have to use the word ledger, but because if you think of a traditional ledger in a bank, that records transactions. With a blockchain, like Bitcoin's blockchain, you could visualize it as all the participants in the network that are called nodes having an exact copy of that ledger. So since there's no central authority in charge, somebody has to determine when a transaction is valid. And that is done by consensus amongst the nodes. So the nodes all agree by looking at mathematical rules that are programmed into the protocol. And they look at that and they propagate it to other nodes, and other nodes, all the other nodes come to the same agreement that yes, this transaction is valid and we can include it in a block. So that is how consensus is formed. It uses game theory because all the participants are incentivized to act correctly, to act in their own interests. And if they try to break any of the rules, they are punished. So going back to why remittances are, why money transfer is cheaper over a blockchain, they're instantaneous or near instantaneous, and can be can cost next to nothing, because the protocol allows you to build certain layers on top of it that allow these network fees to be reduced. There are some blockchains that provide this without having to have a second layer on top of them, but Bitcoin uses a network called the Lightning Network, which allows instant and near zero transaction fees. And it is possible to send money instantaneously to somebody anywhere in the world that also has a Lightning wallet for very, very low fees. And that is done by the use of channels. So instead of sending the normal transaction fee over the network, you open a channel and perform some transactions, and then afterwards you can close the channel before the transaction gets settled on the Bitcoin network layer. So it can also act as a settlement layer, and which is why some people think that it can actually replace the global currency reserve system, because it's programmed well enough and it's secure enough to act as a settlement layer for transactions. The only problem with remittance fees, with the cost of remittances at the moment, is the onboarding and offboarding fees. So you need, for example, after you've sent crypto to somebody that lives in Australia, they will need somewhere, if they want to cash out in the local currency, they will need to do that too. And that is I think, where the costs can increase for somebody who wants to have some kind of remittance service. But otherwise, the transactions are instantaneous and for very, very low fees.
Okay. All right. So there are over, I was looking this up, and there are over like 6,000 different cryptocurrencies currently in existence. And
9,000 now.
Thank you, sir. 9,000. Imagine. My data, I must have been looking at the wrong data. Oh, data flawed. Okay, 9,000 different cryptocurrencies currently in existence. And I'm sure in another year, given the boom, this is it's going to continue to grow. If a third of all current consumers, right, people who say they've used cryptocurrencies, are in Nigeria, are they using their own cryptocurrencies, or that they're creating, as in, Nigerian fintech companies are creating their own currency, or are they using Bitcoin and like Ethereum or Litecoin? And the reason why I ask is that oftentimes, whether it's like finished goods or technology, right, you find that countries in the global south, African countries, we're more on the consumer end of things, which it doesn't mean that you can't benefit, but we know that like those who create, right, and produce and have ownership, they can become billionaires, right? Versus those who like have crypto, okay, you have a couple thousand here and there and you become a millionaire. Like there's still like a divide. And I guess I wanted to understand if this decentralized this decentralized network, the blockchain, is so decentralized that like the power systems that usually exist between the more developed countries or cryptos maybe that are from other countries and maybe cryptos made in Africa, like, is there a difference, or is it just a question of how long a cryptocurrency has been in the market? Like, are all cryptocurrencies made equal, and are all consumers equally positioned to benefit? Like, is there a global crypto divide, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Not really. Another property of crypto is that it is completely neutral. It doesn't care who you are, where you are from. It doesn't care the size of your transaction. Everything is treated equally. When you create a cryptocurrency, if you have a node on the network, every node, if you have several nodes in Africa, all of those nodes are of equal importance to the network as other nodes anywhere else in the world. So there are the only divide, you might say, is perhaps in terms of mining. That is, mining determines how blocks are created and who is responsible for issuing them. So at the moment with Bitcoin, a lot of the mining, at least half, is located in China. There's a lot also in the United States, but this is because mining takes up a lot of electricity.
Right.
There are other cryptocurrencies that don't use the consensus method of Bitcoin, and so don't need to use up a lot of electricity. There's one called Nano, for example. Cardano, they use a system, and EOS, they use a system called proof of stake. So block creators, the people who, or the nodes that create those blocks, are based on nodes that stake some amount of the native currency of the network. So you can, the good thing about the openness and neutrality of this protocol is that anybody can copy the code and create their own cryptocurrency, and you just let market forces determine how successful it will be, or in some cases marketing, or in some cases have some celebrity behind it, like Snoop Dogg or Elon Musk.
Like the Elon Musk Dogecoin. Did you see Twitter yesterday? It was late this morning because Elon Musk was on Saturday Night Live, and people were waiting, watching. I think he mentioned that he was giving Dogecoin to his mother or something, and Twitter lit up oh, it's about to go up in value, and then and I just think it's so interesting.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that bit. Let me just talk about what's going on in Nigeria. Nigeria uses Bitcoin a lot. Nigerians use Bitcoin a lot for payment and for remittances. In fact, I think you said it already at the start of the show, that Nigeria is the African country with the most Bitcoin transactions at the moment. A lot of people use it to trade, and that's something that you're not going to be able to prevent. Once something has value, people are going to speculate on the value. They're going to trade it, especially when there are exchanges to trade. But they also use it for remittances. They use it to pay people outside of Nigeria. They use it as a hedge against inflation, the devaluing of the naira. And so they're using it for lots and lots of other stuff. Obviously, there are some other coins that they might have created. I know there's a young Nigerian who's created a decentralized social network called Swerge, and it has its own native currency. He's trying to promote it as well. I think he's also developing a decentralized finance platform on the Binance Smart Chain. So there's a lot of things that you can do to participate in the cryptocurrency space, innovate and generate value for yourself.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm glad you talked about this. This brought us back to Nigeria. Now, most African
Yeah.
countries don't yet have a policy to regulate cryptocurrencies. So South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria are the leaders. But how are central banks? Those central banks that do have policy. So in these markets, how are they impacting the growth of crypto?
Um, well, regulation. I've never been a fan of regulation. Regulation to me is mostly strangulation. It throttles and it stifles innovation and creativity. For example, the when the Central Bank of Nigeria issued some note that it was banning retail banks, commercial banks from uh, holding accounts of entities that trade in cryptocurrency. You know, you had some exchanges and some apps that worked with commercial banks that allowed you to deposit from a bank. They could no longer do that, but they always found a workaround.
Right.
And
Actually,
that's the and
let me
that's
read for people who are listening. Let me just read to you what the Central Bank of Nigeria's position is. Right. So the Central Bank of
yeah.
Nigeria, this is what they say about. First of all, cryptocurrencies are, according to Central Bank of Nigeria, a direct contravention of existing law. That because they believe that only the central bank should be issuing cryptocurrencies. The CBN of Nigeria says that the very name of crypto and nature of cryptocurrencies, quote, suggests that users value anonymity, obscurity, and concealment because they want to engage in illegal activities. And it was earlier this year. So this was a position they took, I believe, since 2007. And then earlier this year, they ordered banks to shut down the accounts of all cryptocurrency companies, which meant that people then who were using their, let's say you have an account in a bank and you were using that to finance your crypto accounts or to trade in crypto, like to basically buy, they had to shut them down.
Yeah.
Would you say that the ways that people are using cryptocurrencies any more dubious than the way that they're using hard cash? And then also, since nobody knows where these transactions are coming from, where they're coming, how can they even make or prove these assertions? Like how how do they know that it's fun? If it's anonymous, you don't know who is sending or where it's going. How do they even know? Is it just like fear because they're losing power and control? Is that what it is? It's just like fear.
Well, it absolutely it is. They're losing control. Like I said, because it's the architecture is centralized. They want to be in control of money. Money is a system of control. We saw a little bit of that when even is it the IMF head Christine Lagarde talked about wanting, or maybe the governor of the Bank of International Settlement saying they want to be able to make sure they can track everybody's financial activity. You know, they know that they can't do that with crypto. Now, crypto is not completely anonymous. It is pseudonymous because you have everything is on the ledger.
Right.
It's transparent. Transactions are not encrypted. So you can tell if, especially those who use KYC exchanges, it is possible for certain companies who specialize in that, like chain analysis, to track and eventually find out who made a transfer where. But honestly, nobody. The biggest money launderers and people who use money for illegal purposes are the banks themselves. I mean, that is just a fact. Look at the fines HSBC, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and all of those banks had to pay. They're the ones doing money laundering. They're the ones using it for illicit purposes. I mean, technology, any new technology is going to attract bad actors. people who want to use it for illicit purposes. In fact, they are normally the early adopters. We saw that with the internet when pornography became one of the quickest things, websites that went online. So, you know, that's going to happen, but it's
right, like, because human beings are going to human, right? Human beings are going to do
exactly
what they do, whether it's hard cash currency, whether it's virtual currency. Those people who want to engage in illegal activities, they're going to find a way, right? And so what the regulators perhaps should focus on is how can you make the conditions safer, right, for the people who are participating in this, and not necessarily push people, because I feel like whenever there's like this stamp down on tighter regulation, it's actually more dangerous, right? Because you're forcing people to then now go and hide or find some other way to deliver the solution or do what they're going to do anyways, putting themselves or other people at risk. Before we continue the rest of the conversation, hold that thought, Che. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. You're watching African Experts with Vickie Remoe. You're watching African Experts with Vickie Remoe. Welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, you're watching African Experts, and I'm Vickie Remoe. With me on the show today is IT expert Danielle Cheto, and we're talking about cryptocurrencies on the continent, issues of scaling and opportunities. Before we went to break, we were talking about regulation and how the central bank regulations are trying to stifle or are stifling the growth and use of crypto. Specifically, we were talking about Nigeria, where the CBN this year basically reiterated its position. People were calling it a ban, but they said, oh no, we didn't ban it. We're just saying what we had already said, which was that nobody should be issuing cryptocurrency or any currency other than the central bank. But all that did was cause those who are crypto traders, who create cryptocurrency in Nigeria, to find alternative solutions, because that's the thing with innovation, right? Like, if you put a problem in front of innovators, they're going to find a way and a solution. The fact that crypto itself was created as a solution to problems in the financial industry and the financial sector should let everybody know that, like, you cannot get in its way, right? Other than like going around and arresting people, other than going around and I guess physically arresting people, right? You cannot actually get in the way, because when you say, okay, you can't make these kinds of transactions, or you can't work with commercial banks, et cetera, the creators and the innovators, they go back into the code and they say, okay, how can we change it so that it works in a completely different system, right? And so
the number of transactions, the Bitcoin activity actually increased. Crypto activity actually increased after the ban. I mean, wow. one of the main crypto companies in Nigeria, called Bitcoins Africa, which allows people to deposit money from their Nigerian bank accounts into the app and then use that to purchase and trade cryptocurrencies. When they shut that down, they just started pairing buyers and sellers together, and people were still able to use their app to buy and trade cryptocurrencies. So they just found a peer-to-peer relationship within the app, and that was how they solved that problem.
Yeah, I don't know who said
governments
it,
really.
You can't stop the shining. I don't know who said it. Somebody said it, but you can't stop the shining.
You can't stop reality from being real. Flavor Flav said that one. so governments need to establish how and under what conditions they'll allow and encourage cryptocurrencies to evolve and to make innovation involving them thrive. They have to let innovators innovate. They have to understand the ways in which they can support long-standing economic and development goals. Financial inclusion, in decreasing the cost of remittances, that sort of stuff.
No, you're. I think, and definitely, technology and innovation. It's not just in Africa that regulators struggle with new technology, right? Like, how do you deal with it? Because regulators oftentimes see their powers as to limit, right? And not necessarily to create the conditions for these innovations to grow. And they're usually behind, right? By the time they realize that this is a viable industry, this is something that's going to solve problems, this is a viable solution for something that's already existing, it's already too late, right? And then they have to pay catch up and then try to create opportunities for those and for those organizations and businesses to thrive. So, or the sector as a whole. You mentioned additional use cases in your paper, just in general with regards to blockchain. And I wonder, in a place like Sierra Leone or in a place like Ghana or Nigeria, where you started talking about it earlier, about where our local currencies are so volatile to inflation, right? And just the depreciation also of the currency. You wake up one year, the money is valued this month, 2 days later, it's valued something else. Would you encourage people who are watching today, and this is not investment advice or anything, because I know you're not an investment expert, it's not what we're doing, but in your opinion, as an advocate for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, do you think that saving in crypto is advisable? Is it, for those of us who live in these economies where our money, what they said, Idi Amin and whatever in that movie, once you want to give you small money, pass you put it inside big bag. You're people think it's a lot. It's not a lot of money. It's just a lot of paper. So would you encourage people to save in crypto?
Yeah, like you were saying at the start, a lot of people use cryptocurrency for speculation, and they use it to trade and make a killing on the fluctuations and the values of the cryptocurrencies. I see specifically Bitcoin as not a get-rich quick scheme, but as a savings scheme, because first of all, it is programmed to be deflationary. It has a decreasing rate of inflation, and so it is virtually programmed not to go down in value. Now, there might be there are always peaks and troughs, and there are bull markets and bear markets and things like that. But if you look at the rise of Bitcoin from 2010, say 11 years ago, to now, its value has increased at an average annual rate of 200%. It's hard to argue.
It's astounding. It's in your brain, for me at least, it's something my brain struggles. I'm trying to understand. This is too much.
So if your native currency, if your local currency is decreasing, let's say you have an inflation rate of, I think the Lyon, let's say the Lyon, for example, where the inflation rate is at least 18%. And let's say you save in a commercial bank. Which commercial bank is going to give you a savings interest rate of 18%? So your money, you're not saving money. You're actually losing money. The value of your savings is slowly decreasing. So
but even
if you were to put it in,
they did give you the 18%, right? Even if they gave me 18%, if I'm losing 18% every year, that means I'm back at zero. You're not.
Precisely. So Bitcoin can be looked at as a savings mechanism. But you have to look at it long term, because as I said, there will be bear markets. There have been periods when the value has decreased, by as much as 50, 60%. But in the long term, its value has increased, as I said, annually at an average rate of 200%. And investors are seeing that, which is why you're seeing, especially in the United States, but also in Europe and in Asia, large companies putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Even Elon Musk put some on Tesla's balance sheet.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. It's on Do Not Disturb, but it's disturbing. Sorry, I don't know what that is. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I couldn't turn it off. Wait, did the internet? I'm sorry. Che, I feel like you're frozen. You're watching African Experts with Vickie Remoe. Ooh, I think we lost connection with Che just right there, but I'm sure he'll be back on. If you're just joining us, we are actually, my phone was on silent. I don't know what happened. It must have come from WhatsApp or something. Anyways, we're back. Thank you, Jay. Sorry for that interruption.
Okay, I thought my own internet connection had gone off.
Yeah, no, I think we both had. We matched our. We synced our technical difficulties. Perfect. It's flawless. I love it when it comes together. Anyways, what you were talking about was how when you save money in a traditional bank and a commercial bank, and if we were using Lyon as an example, that if the Lyon is depreciating, inflation is like 18%, and you're in a bank, you're never going to get the kind of returns that saving in crypto would give you. And yes, that the crypto market is volatile in the sense that it's not stable, right? Just because it's valued at this doesn't mean it's going to continue to stay that way.
You can lose all your money.
Yeah, it's not a get-rich quick scheme, right? It's not a quick it's not a lottery. Like you play you play the lottery, you get a number, and then you collect your money. It's like, okay, this is a long-term investment. This is not money I need for my life. As in, if a large corporation goes and takes 1% of their billion-dollar profits and puts it in crypto, it's just a small percentage of their portfolio. They can afford to lose it, right? So I totally understand. And of course, my last and final question before we take questions from the audience is how can people do invest in crypto, right? How does the investment happen? Is it just that you buy Bitcoin, you buy Litecoin or Dogecoin, whatever it is you're buying, and then you hold on to it and watch it grow and change over time? How do people win or lose on Bitcoin or invest in Bitcoin?
Okay, there are a few ways to it. I mean, if you're looking long term, which and this is not a financial advice, by the way. I'm a technologist. I never studied finance or economics in my life. So you can purchase Bitcoin, maybe
Okay, pause.
on an
I'm sorry, really
exchange.
quick. But you do invest in Bitcoin. Like you own Bitcoin. You have Bitcoin.
Well, I used to, but I lost all in a boating accident off Bonds Island a few years ago.
Off Bond. I heard of that accident at Bond where all the Bitcoin fell off the boat.
Exactly,
everybody lost everything.
So I'm just trying to start again now.
You're like, don't look at me. I don't know nothing. Don't come and find me tomorrow.
It was a sad affair, but I laugh at it now because that's life.
Please don't have people think that like you can lose Bitcoin. Like I'm like people actually think that Bitcoin is coin and like you coin to away common at the boats. We don't. Anyways, please, how can people invest in Bitcoin for the long term?
Okay, so normally you have to you buy a wallet, and the most important thing is to make sure that even if you buy it on an exchange or if you buy it using Cash App or some of these other mobile apps, you store it in a wallet that allows you to be in control of your keys. The keys are, when we say keys, we're talking about the private keys. The private keys are what determine your ownership of the Bitcoin, of the cryptocurrency. So if you leave it on an exchange, you are basically doing the same thing as putting your money in a bank. You're trusting a third party. So as we normally say, not your keys, not your coins. Or as Isaiah Jackson says, no keys, no cheese. So make sure you keep, you transfer it off an exchange onto a wallet where you have control of the private keys. Now, you can trade it if you want. If you think that you have the skills, but you really need to know what you are doing. Some people trade based, just like how you can trade stocks. You can, purchase, you can go long, you can go short, and make money based on fluctuations in the price of the currency. But the best advice that I have seen people give is to buy it and hold it for the long term. And the best way to buy and hold for the long term that I normally see people advising is to do something called dollar cost average. So that is every month or every week or every 2 months or whatever, some period that you define, you purchase a specific amount of Bitcoin or of the currency that you're choosing to hold for the long term and keep it. And so no matter what the fluctuations in price, you're always getting some amount that you keep. And sometimes you will get the low prices, sometimes you will get the high prices. But over the long term, you will accumulate enough that, might be sufficient for you and might be satisfactory for you. So a lot of people can trade other. There's, as we noticed, as we mentioned before, there are over 9,000 currencies. You can choose some that have wild fluctuations in price, and if you know what you are doing, you can trade them on an exchange, and you can make money based on the fluctuations in price. I don't really know how to do that because that really requires you having to sit down and stare at charts all day, and I don't have time for that. So some people do, and some people have learned how to do it. If you do know what you're doing, you can do that and you can make money. Some people have made a lot of money on Dogecoin, for example, and other coins that went from less than a cent or 1 cent to $1 and that sort of stuff.
Okay, so now we're going to take questions from our audience. Let's see. Do we have any questions today? Sure. Our first question asks from Beatrice Chaita, who I believe you may know. I don't know if you know her. Is it possible in terms of regulation, won't some kind of smart regulation help to make cryptocurrency more available and interoperable across the continent?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure, I believe you had her on the show some weeks back, a couple of weeks ago, when she was talking about ACFA.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um, uh, Cryptocurrency is borderless. And so what that regulation would do would, try to make sure that it doesn't impose restrictions on people wanting to, transfer and trade in that currency. Many countries, are pretty neutral in terms of regulation, haven't actually said anything or put out any policy, and so it's already possible to do that. But a regulation or a policy statement, or some law or whatever that you could put in place could remove any hesitancy or any hesitation, any unwillingness of some innovators or entrepreneurs to try to build systems on top of digital currencies that allow easy transfer of money across borders and easy payment for goods and services, without having to go through the traditional banking system. The problem, of course, is traditional banks and central banks want to control that flow of information. But if you make sure that the regulation allows this sort of thing, and perhaps puts in place ways to make sure people pay the sort of tax that they are supposed to pay, then sure, especially if they do it with proper reporting to banks.
Sure. Can we take another question? This question is from Ajilu Jallo, and it's, how can one cash out on crypto in Sierra Leone at the moment? Is that possible?
I personally, I don't know, but I do know that there are some decentralized exchanges where you can go and check for people who have offers of cashing out. So, like local Bitcoins, Paxful. There's another one called Hodl Hodl. At the moment, I don't know of any particular exchange or app that allows you to cash out in crypto in Leones.
Okay. Yeah. There's no. Okay.
You have to. You basically have to find another person, or perhaps join some community. I'm not on Facebook, but you might check on Facebook and see if there's a community of users that you can interact with, and perhaps find out if you can do a peer-to-peer exchange.
Okay. Now we'll take a question from Hamza Barry. Oh, no, I'm skipping Michael Johnson's question because Che is not, he can't tell you how much you will get in a year from an investment from Bitcoin. He's a technologist. Thank you. So Hamza's comment is, you've seen Akon talking about Acoin. Do you think crypto could eliminate the need for single currency around West Africa? Could his coin be a game changer? Like ECOWAS was supposed to launch the ECHO, and I guess can crypto or Acoin be the game changer in terms of like one monetary unit for the subregion?
Yeah, I don't think it would eliminate the need for single currency. In fact, I think it is more likely that central banks will issue a central bank digital currency for use. It is more likely that a single central bank digital currency will be issued for use around West Africa than allowing cryptocurrency, unless that's what you were talking about. His own coin is specifically for his city. He's creating a city in Senegal, which is supposed to be some sort of futuristic Wakanda-like city that will use... Construction
has not begun, though. There's been no
construction has not begun. But it's the idea of having some small place, city or locality that uses only crypto is not new. There are many people thinking about it, and perhaps thinking of buying some island in the Caribbean. I think there's an island in the Caribbean that some people are thinking they can buy to have some crypto only, Bitcoin only purchasing and that sort of stuff.
Okay, with that, sadly, we've come to the end of today's show. I already started seeing people commenting and having conversation about crypto investments. So we're going to log off before we get accused of giving anybody investment advice, because that's what we're trying to do here today. We're just making a case for cryptocurrencies on the continent in general use, and trying to paint a picture of where we are now. I would like to thank the production team at vrcmarketing.com, Sierra Leone's leading media production, communications, and online marketing agency. Thank you to the team members, Frank Vin, Bob McEwen, Abdul Hamid Kanu, Alassane Kargbo, Sawa Kamara, and Augustine Kargbo. And of course, thank you, Che, Daniel Cheto, for being on the show today. And thank you to all our viewers across the continent and the diaspora for tuning in. For more information on this and other shows, please visit us online at africanexperts.net. Today's quote of the day comes from former Google executive Eric Schmidt. He said that Bitcoin is a remarkable cryptographic achievement. The ability to create something which is not duplicable in the digital world has enormous value. Lots of people will build businesses on top of that, and they have. Until next week, una tenki and tata from all of us here at African Experts. See you next Sunday.